Mhm. Hey now. Hey now. That's it. Elimination has occurred, everybody. Time to pack it up. Go home. Well, welcome into an After Dark takeover here with the Pucknologists, the unfiltered, unedited, uncensored, commercial-free Sharks podcast here on Teal Town, USA. This time we got 4 games to talk about. Sharks are officially eliminated. They have now lost 10 straight. The last time they did this was before Joe Thornton was acquired. Let that sink in. Just let it sink in. While you're doing that, remember to subscribe to us on our social media channels, and if you'd like to help support any of the content we deliver, you can do that using the Super Chat option during the live shows, or hit us up on Venmo at Tealtown USA. So, with that, before we get into every little thing here with the takeover and whatnot, I do have something to say at the top of the show here. I need to apologize to Brett Hedican. In a poorly executed effort to be funny, I made a gag about the whole drinking game thing for the last couple shows, and it is not fair for me to poke fun at people that aren't here to get their shots in at me. Jerk takes all the shots he can, and most of them hit pretty hard. But I try to be edgy and funny in an effort to entertain people that are nice enough to listen to us on here, and sometimes those efforts are misguided and they miss the target. So Hedican is welcome to join us and carve me up for how much I suck, how often I say the words "to be fair" or "not gonna lie" or any of the other phrases that I continually overuse. But I was hypocritical and not taking my own words to heart, which were, look, if you like something, support it, and if you don't, just move on to something you do like, because there's no need to tear down anyone that's putting their best effort in. So that's on me. We need less trolls, not more, and I'm certainly not here to troll anyone. And that said, I still want to offer honest opinions here and not sugarcoat things. A lot of listeners, whether it has been in survey responses or YouTube comments, iTunes reviews, whatever, they've overwhelmingly said that they appreciate that we're honest on here, and it's a large part of why they listen. But I can be more tactful in my efforts with the infotainment portion, if you will. So all I can say is, Hedican, I'm sorry, and I'm going to try to be better at this. Lord knows I need the reps. Clearly. I clearly need the reps. Jerk, can you use some reps? Are you good?
No, see, here's the difference between you and I is I was born perfect, and so I never do anything wrong.
Damn. I missed that one.
What I'm
that must be a millennial thing.
Well, what I left out is that there's an asterisk next to the word perfect, but we don't need to get into that.
I can imagine it's a very long footnote.
Yeah, as long as, probably the entire rundown for today's show.
Oh, there you go. So, anyway, let's get into it. This is an After Dark takeover. Usually, if you're aware, we cover all the games starting with the last one, but with the takeover, we start with the newest one. And the series, well, what can I tell you? The Sharks go 1-1-1 versus Minnesota this season. They just lost in overtime. And here's Hockey Jerk to tell you what a mistake it is to start Nieto in overtime.
Dude, okay, now I know, and obviously the media call, I'm assuming, has not started yet, or maybe it's just started right now. And I'm sure we're going to hear Bob talk about how defensively responsible Nieto is, and he can skate really well. And those are true things. But you don't win in overtime by blocking shots. And now twice this has been the twice we've seen this now where Nieto starts in overtime. Again, good players, good skater, defense, all that kind of stuff. Not really known for scoring the goals, and twice the Sharks have lost pretty quickly in overtime without even getting a touch of the puck. There was the game against Edmonton with the epic Mike Smith primary assist, and then obviously tonight's game. So I think what I'm trying to say is when you're in a situation where you need a goal, put guys out there who are known for scoring goals. What do I know?
Right? You're here. So, yeah, what do you know? So this one goes, we got Bordeleau's NHL debut.
How good was he, dude?
Dude. Remenda made note of it, and what was funny is he made note of it right when I was watching. I'm like, Jesus Christ, he's just looking everywhere. He's like, okay, that guy's there, this guy's here. Like I got my guy, I got this guy over here too, in case he decides to get a little greasy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I thought there that chance where, which, by the way, off of a sweet pass from Noah Gregor, that chance in the third period, you could tell right before he gets the gets the puck on his stick, he's flipping the head around. Okay, I got a guy who's kind of trailing me right now. Let me adjust, put myself in a position to get this puck, and it was a good chance. I don't think it was really in danger of going in per se, but it definitely had Fleury kind of sharpen up and focus on what was going on. So I mean, for an NHL debut, when it's nice that the Sharks have like this prospect that everybody's been talking about and everybody's been really hyped over. And, that's not to say that he's the future captain of the Sharks and he'll be here for 20 years and all this stuff. But, in terms of making a good first impression, I think he did that. His second good first impression in this week. I mean,
absolutely.
Wasn't that long ago he debuted with the Barracuda?
Same week? Yeah, that's amazing. Kid has had one hell of a last 2 weeks.
No doubt.
So Kahkonen, for whatever reason, doesn't play against his former team. I was a little surprised by that, but I guess Bob wanted to give Reimer a little more rest and threw Kahkonen in last night against Dallas, whatever. But a Meier turnover, and you got Kulikov putting it through traffic. That makes it 1-0. And then a minute later, Spurgeon gets a ramping shot. You can't fault Reimer for that, but it's 2-0. And I say, you know what? Credit to the Sharks for fighting back after being down 2-0 early.
Totally.
Both teams now were in the second game of back-to-backs. And if I remember correctly, Wild went to overtime last night as well. Does that ring a bell? I feel
that sounds right. Quick fact check here. Yeah, they lost in overtime 6-5 to the Blues.
Yeah, so, both teams coming in on a back-to-back, flying into Minnesota. So this is one of those games, Jerk, that I think we've referenced before, where you don't see this from this team a year ago, maybe the year before that, when Jones is in there, and once they get down 2 goals early, they're like, okay, where someone pass me my white flag.
Yeah, this was something. This kind of ability to battle back, so to speak. This was something that we saw a lot the last time the Sharks were in the playoffs, and this recent sort of non-fun period of time, if you will, has seen that lost. How many times, especially last year, and I still kind of think it's hard to judge last year because of the circumstances, but at the same time, so many games last year, it's 2-0. Going into the first intermission, and you could turn the TV off because you knew what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, there is a lot of that, don't get me wrong, but there are a lot of games where the Sharks have battled back, or they've made it close, or at the very least, they've shown that they're not, totally dead in things. You know what I mean? They may lose and they may look bad, but they got a pulse. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you
can't say the same for last year.
Yeah, you might not like the lines some of the times that Bugner deploys.
All the time.
Yeah, or all the time, depending on your take. But you have to at least credit the guy that having this team still playing like this when they're officially eliminated. Like, there's literally nothing to play for.
Well, and how much do we talk about, like, your team, the team sucks, you're not going to the playoffs, you're on a bad losing streak. Like, we've talked about this many times before. It's easy to get discouraged. Oh, well, there's 7 games left in the season. Nothing we're doing is right. So I'm just going to, I'm going to do what I need to do just to get to the cottage. But the Sharks, I don't want to say through entire 60-minute segments, but in bunches throughout this 10-game winless streak, have showed some fight. They've showed some competitiveness despite the fact that they literally have nothing to play for. And I think whatever you want to say about the team, the coaching, like it's good. Like it shows you've got good roots. You have a good foundation when, you're playing like you are going to the playoffs. Like every game does matter, even though they really don't.
Well, it makes is Bugner making his case to, if he isn't a coach, at least motivational speaker for the team?
But yeah, motivational speaker. I mean,
Cohesive, captain of cohesiveness.
You know what, I said it last week, dude. He's a really good assistant coach.
Yeah.
Give him a task or two. Hey, draw up the penalty kill for us. Don't worry about the 5-on-5 lines. Like,
True.
like and again, this is extremely unlikely. But if there was ever a scenario where like the Sharks got a new coach and Bob shifted back over to assistant coach, I'd actually be okay with that, because as an assistant, I think we've seen the things that he's known for, which is the penalty kill and the defense. Defense kind of suspect this year, but penalty kill specifically have still been good. It's just everywhere else it's kind of, like a bag of rocks falling onto you from a 3-story building.
Ouch. Balsers scores, makes it 2-1.
Say it. Say it.
There will be no slander.
Talk about it.
Oh, Balsers from high on one. Dude, Fleury totally needed that one back.
I think Fleury needs most of today's goals back. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. But it's 2-1, and Bordeleau gets the primary assist. First NHL point in his first NHL game. You love to see it.
He's on pace for an 82 game or 82 point season. Yeah, 82 assists. I mean, dude, if the regular season started today, the Sharks would make the playoffs based on that stat line.
Right. Nieto would tie it early into the second off a great transitional sequence. I mean, it was like Burns to Hurdle to just fantastic. Like, where's that been? Looked great, but it was another one that Fleury should have had.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, and I mentioned it. I think it was last week, maybe the week before. Nieto is really good at getting himself into a position to score. He gets a lot of chances. He does not get a lot of goals. And so you're watching that and you're saying, okay, here comes Matt Nieto. Like, we'll see. And it was a nice shot. He buried it right past Fleury, and you could say Fleury wanted it back, but Nieto was in a prime spot there, and he made it count.
I'll take it. And I was looking, Reimer made a huge save as the Sharks give up a breakaway on the power play. And I was like, okay, we got to jot that one down, because what happens if they lose by 1 or whatever? Or if they go overtime because of that? It's that this game doesn't go overtime without that save. Mm-hmm. So Reimer, that like, woof. But of course, the problem is Boldy gets lost, puts it in from 6 feet out. It's 3-2. But again, credit to the Sharks. Gregor ties it, burying a rebound of a burn shot.
So open. It would have been very Noah Gregor.
A neon sign that said "open."
It would have been very Noah Gregor if he didn't score there.
Oh,
and I hate to say that. I love Noah Gregor, but that would have been so Noah Gregor to not score there.
Oh, well, dude, when your own captain, when Ferraro's going, Gregor's going to get one tonight, and Couture's like, no, he's not.
Yeah, that's when you're the running joke. It's kind of it makes you think. But we'll get into it obviously. But I've liked his game. I thought he's played very well. He's kind of bounced all over the lineup this last little stretch, but we're talking earlier about we're at the point of the season where you're playing for next year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would hope that Noah Gregor has no interest in going back to the Barracuda.
No. I would hope not. Let's hit up a couple of comments that we have here. Our girl Dana, how can management not fire Bugner after 10? If this was game 20, 25 on the season,
totally.
Yeah, he gone. But at this point, it's like 7 left. What's it going to prove? Nothing. And again, the guys are playing hard. They just can't. They don't have any offense. Or the times that they do score 4 goals, they let in 5.
The work ethic is good.
Yeah.
It's just that I don't even necessarily want to say the skill, because like I think the skill is good. They obviously have good players. I just don't think there's enough of it.
And Bob Boughner would say the same thing. I mean, he's said it during media calls where you look at other teams, you look at us, we're not elite. We don't have the horses that other teams have. So we have to play a certain structure. We have to be defensively sound and lock it all down. Sometimes they're able to, and sometimes they're not.
And to me, that kind of feels like a hot potato, to the GM. Like, yeah, we're not, when you're saying we're not elite, we don't have this. Well, there's only one person who can fix that.
No. Dude, there's a what was the cat's name? There was a hole.
There's a Kevin Durant sized hole, and only one man can fill it. I'm wondering if it's Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I think it might be, but I'm not totally sure. Drew Blake coming in saying, I'm sure Bob will blame the overtime goal on Merkley, and he will be scratched in the next game.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, well, that's the thing. He would have loved to put Merkley out there, but Merkley's a rookie, and so
poor Merkley.
Because of that fact, he isn't allowed to try anything ever.
Yeah. Well, look, it comes down to Gregor ties it, buries a rebound of the burn shot. Bonino gets a shorty, and we're up. The Sharks are up 4-3, and you're going, are they really going to pull this off? And then Fiala tips a bench shot. It's tied 4-4. Reimer is hot, thinks he was interfered with. I looked at it. I got to say, I was wondering if he was conflating Fiala with Milosh, because Milosh got a lot more of his glove than Fiala did.
Dude, Milosh, today's game might have been the worst game Milosh has ever played.
Ooh.
Like, he was on the Kulikov goal. He was basically, Reimer was essentially giving him a piggyback ride on the Kulikov goal. And I want to say it was on the Matt Boldy goal, the first one, or I'm sorry, the third goal of the game. Milosh was, I don't know, he looked like he was, I don't even know what the hell he was doing. He was like not where he should have been. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And then obviously, you're talking about the Fiala goal as well, just kind of all over the place. And then last night as well in the Dallas game, 2 moments where he's he's behind the net with the puck, just standing there. Mm-hmm. And you can go back and you can listen. Even Drew was like, move it, skate, move the puck, skate, like 7 times. And I'm like, just move it so he shuts up. Like, you know what I mean?
So Timo would take a dumb penalty with just under 6 left, with that big hit on Hartman. I don't know if it's because, Timo and Kane are boys and he's like getting him back for the finger. But either way, I don't understand how Timo, you got to be situationally aware. I get that you're hot and you've pretty much been hot all game and maybe you think they're getting away with stuff, but like it's situational, bro. It's tied 4-4. You got less than 6 left, and you're gonna take a penalty. Like,
right?
Like, there's having faith in your PK. I get it, but I don't know that you want to keep, throwing the dice down the hitting it off the back wall, hoping that 7 doesn't come up.
Well, that's the thing is it, as you said, it's a tie game, but also with Timo Meier, like we talked about it last week, as good of a season as he's had, it's obviously a career season. He's been the best player for the Sharks this year by and far. But the second half of the season, he's got 42 penalty minutes. I want to say all of them, or not all of them, but most of them are from this, around the All-Star break to now. And so it just makes you wonder, like, had this guy stayed out of the box, kind of like not necessarily where would the Sharks be, but where would his offense be? Because we were talking about like, oh, Meier's on pace for 90 points. He's on pace for, 102 points. And it's like, if he stays out of the box, it makes you wonder where that, where the actual numbers would have ended up.
Mm-hmm. And for the talk about, like firing Boughner now, I see like Ian makes a good point. It's like there's no point in firing the coach until you have a new GM in place. So obviously that as well, that's, it could very well happen. As soon as a new GM is hired, we'll find out. GMs typically like to put their stamp on things. So, yeah, there's no point in doing it. And then, again, no point in doing it when you've got nothing to play for and there's just 2 weeks left in the season. So,
well, so what? You fire the coach, and then you have an interim coach, and then the whole summer is like, oh, is the interim coach going to become the coach, or are they going to find someone else? And it just it adds unnecessary stuff to Joe Will's plate, and I think it would make more.
Joe Will.
I think it would make more sense if it's just like you said, hire the new guy or girl, whatever, and kind of just say, okay, Bob's your coach unless you don't want him, and kind of leave it up to the new GM. Because if Joe Will fires Bob Boughner, and then the new person comes in and they're like, well, you know what, I really liked Bob Boughner, and
I'm sure we're going to get those end of season interviews that, if you remember last season, it all kind of leaked out where like, hey, there's a lot of guys that really don't want Evander Kane on this team. So I'm sure that they'll all get the players' takes on Boughner, his performance, what he's done. Steve with a good point in here about Timo tonight. Timo's having a career year. He's on a team that's going nowhere for the third year in a row. I'm sure his mental frustration is mounting.
Yeah, you'd be I'd be surprised if it wasn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially last year, like, you look at it, and we kind of talked about it before, and we debated whether or not this was actually the case, but there was a lot of conversation about Timo Meier specifically last year. He seemed like he had an off, well, not seemed like he did have an off year, but the COVID season 1, he was the leading scorer for the Sharks, and now in COVID season 3, he's the leading scorer for the Sharks once again. But you think about it, those seasons were pretty normal. You have COVID season 2 last year, the hubbed divisions, no fans, weird travel schedules, weird game schedules. And, we kind of talked about, like, is it possible that, the weight of the pandemic was weighing on him? And I don't want to imply that it was, but it certainly wouldn't surprise me if that ended up being the case.
Well, again, credit to the Sharks for fighting back in this one, taking it to overtime. Again, I think I would be more disappointed if I saw a team that had a lot more talent and wasn't working this hard.
Well, and what have I said all year? The Sharks are the exact same team they are last year without their best player.
Well, but I go back and I wish I could remember exactly what season it was. It was somewhere like 08, 09, somewhere in there where the Sharks just seemed like they were a wagon.
Mm-hmm. There were a couple of those.
Yeah, but like the year that they win the President's Trophy and then get bounced in 6.
09.
There you go. And I just remember a couple times thinking, God, this team, where is your heart? Where is your pride?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this team today, man, if they had the talent of 09, but with this heart.
Yeah, with this work ethic.
Ooh, that's...
So you said something was disappointing. I got something for you that's disappointing. I would even say it's gross.
Oh, shit.
So, and we're all about the numbers here.
All right, let me crack one. Gotta get that 7-up.
So, power play time.
Oh, boy.
Burns, 3 minutes and 6 seconds, as to be expected. I mean, it's Brent Burns. That's kind of what he's here for. I'm not upset about that.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Merkley, 56 seconds. Like, I understand, the Sharks only had 3 power plays. One of them was very abbreviated. I think 2 of them might have been abbreviated, actually. And so I understand, but at the same time, like we talked about with seeing what you have in guys, like I would just be alternating Merkley and Burns. I don't, at this point, what are you playing for? See what you got in Merkley, and we'll get into it after we finish, after we finish talking about all the games, but there's some power play information regarding Rudolph Balcers as well, but we'll get there.
Well, This is it for Minnesota. Let's just take it to the top of the week. Look, they couldn't buy a win. I mean, overtime loss, shootout loss, regulation loss, overtime loss. Look, the 0-1-3 this week. Through 75 games, you got 69 points. You're
Nice.
Nice. And the thing is, my little prediction thing, I had them with 76 points. Like, I thought they were going to be a point a game, maybe finish with 83. But no, they at 69. Nice. I have them winning 3 of their final 7. We'll see if that comes to fruition.
Yeah, we'll see. That being the operative word. So something to think about here. The Sharks at this stage in the game, the Sharks are they actually have 70 points.
Oh, my bad. I forgot.
Because they got the overtime loss.
You right.
But
not nice anymore.
not nice. But the Sharks, as it stands right now, they're on pace. If they win their remaining 7 games of the season, who's to say? Who's to say?
Good
right?
one. Good one.
But say they finish the season 7-0, they'll finish with 84 points. Do you have anything you want to say about that number yet?
I mean, if it happens, a bet is a bet. But they got to go 7-0. Do I think that's going to happen? Yeah, no.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah. Well, stranger things have occurred. What would be funny is if they won 7-0 or went 7-0, and then you get those same people going, give Buckner an extension.
Something else I was thinking about too. So as you mentioned, 0-1-3 this week. I don't feel like the Sharks, like if you sort of look at everything with very broad lenses, right? I don't think the Sharks played like a 0-1-3 team this week.
I agree. I mean, you look, dude, they didn't get blown out in any game. They were all 1-goal losses.
Yeah, and Nashville was in overtime. Chicago was in the shootout, and tonight was in overtime as well. Like they were now close doesn't mean shit, but they were close,
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to lose four in a row, I would rather lose by 1 goal, pick up some overtime points and be doing things the right way. Just knowing that, look, we're doing this the right way. We just need somebody else that can score on this team. Just the point is, I'd much rather see the Sharks lose these games by 1 goal every time than just getting who did you bring up earlier tonight? Was it the Blues were just like running roughshod over somebody?
Yeah, they're up on or they beat the Predators 8-3.
Yo, yowza.
And Predators are they're in the hunt for a playoff spot, because they lost and Dallas actually, even though Dallas was inactive today, Dallas actually leapfrogged them because Nashville lost.
Wow. And then there was another game earlier this season where was it like Edmonton beat Calgary 9-5?
I think it was last week. I'll tell you what, and most of these have involved the Arizona Coyotes, unfortunately. We've seen a lot of 6-1, 7-1, 8-1 games this year.
Yeah. So now, of course, the thing that you can say is it's mind-numbing that you look at Sharks at Nashville and it's kind of like, well, you killed both power plays, but you couldn't come up. You only got 1 power play, but you couldn't score on it. That would have been a difference.
Only 25 shots as well.
Yeah, and
43% on the faceoffs.
You gave up 40 shots.
Yeah.
Whew. So that's a stellar performance. But what happens?
Sorry to interrupt you. You know what else really kills me about this whole thing?
Mm-hmm.
So only 25 shots on goal for the Sharks. Nashville had 15 giveaways. Like it just, I think it's a fool's game to get into historical fiction when it comes to sports in general, but
you don't want to rewrite history.
Right, but it makes you think like, okay, 15 giveaways, like imagine what the Sharks could have done if they had gotten an A scoring chance on a third of those? Half, maybe?
Yeah, no doubt. I am seeing a comment here coming in from Bugner. Said he was not a fan of Timo taking that penalty. Like, gee, I wonder why. But
Yeah.
also pointed out that Timo's had a hell of a year, and so, hey, what are you going to do? He's been our go-to guy offensively all year. I'll take him being engaged any day. So, getting back to this Nashville game, though, real quick. 1-0 overtime loss. Again, I point to the special teams, which will, again, be something that we discuss throughout the whole the rest of this wrapping of the games, because the power play did not score a single goal this week. Yet they did.
Awesome.
Yeah, they did cough up a shorty, and then their PK scored a shorty. So the penalty kill had more goals this week than the power play. Just let that sink in.
Yeah, I can't do anything but laugh at that.
I'm telling you, dude.
That's...
But look, the Nashville game...
stupid.
I'm
know. Sorry.
But a stellar goalie performance is ruined because EK65 is out of position in overtime and Ekholm taps it in.
Well, and while we're talking about the defense, we love talking about defense on this show. The game against Nashville, there were five giveaways by defensemen. 2 from Karlsson, 3 from Burns. Now, again, we've said it all year. We've said it last year. We said it the year before and the year before. When you're out there the most, it makes sense that your negatives would be increased, just as it makes sense your positives would be increased. Nobody is disputing that. But again, when it's a game that is 0-0 for 98% of the time, you don't need your two best defensemen who are supposed to be positive difference makers. You don't need them coughing up the puck like that.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people, myself included, have been very uninterested in what Jacob Megna has to offer. But he had no giveaways in this game, and he played.
He didn't play. I thought
Nashville.
you were. Yeah, okay. I thought we were. It was a Minnesota reference. Go ahead.
He had no giveaways in this game, and he played 2.5 minutes less than Burns and Karlsson.
Mm-hmm.
So again, when you're out there the most, your threshold for positives and negatives, it's going to be bigger, right?
Sure.
That doesn't mean that you can just say, oh, well, I'm out here all the time, so I'm expected to give it away. Like, no, you still got to button that stuff up.
Absolutely. Quick note from the locker room. Nieto saying, it remains positive through this 10-game losing streak. We love each other as a group in there. We're laying it all out there.
Wow, that's so cute.
Yeah, I mean...
everybody's friends. Let's all hold hands and hug.
Dude, I'm like, okay, what? Do you guys are going to sing Kumbaya on the way home?
You want to know what is a total jam job right now?
Whip it out. Boston's not on the power play.
Yeah. So, Capo Kahkonen's record is 0-4-1. He's got no wins with the Sharks. He still has a .914 save percentage.
And this week with the 2 games, .955.
Like,
dude,
get brother a freaking goal.
That's all I'm saying, man.
And you know what? I'm like, we talked about it when it came down, but I was tweeting with a couple of people earlier today, and it was sort of refreshing these thoughts in my head. I think if Capo Kahkonen, and this is totally off topic, if Capo Kahkonen becomes what the experts say and what his potential says, you're not going to hear the words Jake Middleton in San Jose very often. I'm telling you what.
Yeah. Well, and, look, with the thing with Nieto, like, we can sit here and kind of have fun with his comments. But, look, I'd take comments like that versus, like, yeah, well, April 29th getting real close, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit.
Like, somebody fetch me my, did somebody clean my golf balls and my clubs are all accounted for? Like, let's roll.
They
seem like they're coming together.
Yeah.
Versus when Jones over the last couple seasons has said, when things started to go shitty, the team splintered and went their separate ways.
And you know what? It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that the players who have mentioned about drifting apart and going their own way and all that stuff
are no longer on the Sharks.
yeah, not a coincidence. But I was thinking about this earlier and I didn't say it, but we're talking about getting towards the end of the year, right? And kind of what that brings. When your team is out of the playoffs, it really kind of changes the way you look at stuff. Like I feel like if it's it's November or December, like, and in the game against Dallas, Jonathan Dahlen, he takes that puck off of the somewhere on the leg section, I believe it was, and you in November or December, you're thinking, oh my God, I hope he's okay. We need him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now you fast forward, we're here, it's the middle of April, Sharks are not going to the playoffs. They could have come out and said, oh, Jonathan Dahlen is not going to be able to play until the middle of next year. I'd be like, I don't care. Like, the season's over anyway. Like, it changes the way that you sort of look at things,
Oh, yeah. The perspective is wildly changed.
Yeah.
Denver Doyle saying, I'm the opposite of AJ. If we get blown out, that means we need big changes and a new coach more urgently.
Technically, yes. But I know people want the
blown out, dude.
But here's the thing: is people want the Sharks to be a good team eventually, right? And to me, kind of what we've been talking about, especially around the Minnesota game, you have those roots in place, that foundation in place. Like, I know people have made fun of Doug Wilson for saying we're closer than a lot of people think. But on some level, that's true. Now, that might be the difference between 2 years away versus 4 years away.
Yeah.
But you're still closer, right? And I think, like, if the Sharks are still, 3 years into this dumpster fire, if the Sharks are still getting blown out on the regular, I'm a little concerned.
Yeah, a scotch.
But I feel like even though it's slow, the Sharks are trending in the right direction, I think.
And that's what you're looking for, trending in the right direction and not splintering. Right. Dana pointing out Penguins played half a team for a solid month, were unfazed.
That is true. They dealt with a lot of injuries the first half of the year.
Yeah. Well, the Sharks are dealing with it now. Well, the whole thing that they've been pushing is just the ridiculous amount of rookies that they're having to play or getting a look at.
Which I don't understand that talking point, because it's like, how many – I guarantee you every rookie this year has been benched by Bob at least once. So, like, you can't tell me – No, I
think the talking point, it's not – I think the way that they're using it, you might be misinterpreting it. I think it's the whole thing of they're using it as almost like a promotional thing of saying,
sure.
Like, check these guys out now. The Sharks are using a ridiculous amount of rookies right now. Now that's painting the silver lining on there. What's the underlying thing? Well, we don't have enough talent. We're kind of forced to play these guys.
I just think it's funny where, like I said, all this conversation, the Sharks are playing a lot of rookies right now. Aren't we so progressive and awesome? But then you look and it's like, how many rookies have gotten the jam job this year?
That is
Merkley, Dahlen. I mean, those are the two rookies that come to mind that have gotten the jam job.
Dude, Blichfeld runs into an Avalanche player he's never seen again.
Yeah. Like, and I want to put it out there. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about. But in before the Sharks don't qualify Blichfeld.
Gotcha.
Just putting it out there.
Bordeleau on his NHL debut said, I felt all right. I could have made better plays and stuff like that, but it was good to get the nerves out of the way. Obviously a special moment for me and my family. I just wish we could have gotten the win tonight. Well, I think you speak for everybody when you say that.
See, but I like hearing that, because he says, I would have liked to do a couple things better.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was one of the best players tonight.
Absolutely.
So it's like, okay, that's good to have that mindset of like, I want to always keep growing, doing better, see what I can bring to the table. But it's like, if he were to come in and be like, yeah, I was buzzing out there and, had a nice, wish Gregor would have put that puck on my tape better. Like, not to say he would have said that, but you know what I mean? Like, it's nice where he can say, like, he's not saying, oh, yeah, I had an assist and it was my first game and my family was here and getting all hyped on himself. He's talking about like, yeah, I want to help the team and do this. And, it's good to hear those kinds of things,
Well, Bugner's take on Bordeleau. Bugner says, Boards did a lot of good things. Talked to him after the first period. He was a little nervous. Said to me, I'll be better in the second period, but I thought he had a pretty good first period. Some defensive stuff to sort out, but you can tell when he's out there. which I think is really good because there has been a few times where I've gone, like, has Nieto played in this game?
I just think, and obviously we'll get into it when we finally finish talking about all the games, but at this point you got 7 games left in the season, and I was trying to explain this, I was explaining this to my fiance, like with Bordeleau, like the fact that you're bringing him in now, the type of player he is, even if he's the worst player on the ice, you play him the remaining 7 games.
Yeah, get those reps, baby. We were talking about that at the beginning.
Yep.
Let's move on to the Chicago game. The Sharks 1-0 versus Chicago coming into this one. 2-0 win last November, and the Sharks will see Chicago once more April 23rd. That is Fan Appreciation Night, so grab your tickets for your giveaway jersey. Reimer gets a start. Dahlen scratched for Simek. We're going 7D.
You know what I think I want to do? Are you okay? Are you familiar with what a dream board is?
Unfortunately, yes.
I want to have a dream board in my office, and I'm gonna have to go back the last 3 years when all this nonsense started. But I want to find like every stupid lineup decision that's happened over the last 3 years. I want to find it and put it on this dream board, and I'm not taking it down until the Sharks win the Stanley Cup, or at the very least make the playoffs again.
Oh dear Lord.
That's what I want to do. That's my homework assignment.
All right. Well,
and that is on there because, like, Dahlen scratched for Simek. I mean, let's really think. Oh man, you love that steak? Try this. Try this collection of different animal fat that we were gonna dump in the dumpster. You know what I mean?
Jesus. The Sharks, again, a 5-4 loss in the shootout. So, again, this is one that goes to OT. Sharks are 0 for 1 on the power play. Would have made a difference. 2 for 3 on the PK. Again, Bugner implied, though, that during pregame, Dahlen wasn't doing enough, hence why he got sat. You got Bonino moved to the wing. Oh, okay.
Which he was on the wing last year in Minnesota, and he thrived there. So I don't actually hate that.
Yeah.
Even though he was brought in to be the third line center.
Dude, this week I might have been the most starfish I've ever seen Burns. There's a 3-on-1 on the first shot of the game with Chicago, and Burns goes full starfish. But he fires one from the blue line. Timo buries the rebound. At least they get one there. You get Nieto in for Barabanov halfway through the first after Barabanov took a Stillman hit. Barabanov has not returned, although he is still with the team. We'll get into that in a little bit, but Simek and Carlson did return to San Jose early. Mm-hmm. But the Hawks get a power play. There's that's a killer. It's 2-1. Reedy ties it. You're 2-2. Then on 4-4, they make it 3-2. And Balsers 4-3. Magna 4-4. So, all right, shootout. At least we got something going. And then EK65 with a slapper in the shootout.
I was talking about a sack of bricks falling on you from a 3-story building. That's what that was.
I don't understand why EK65 was the third shot. Who had gone before him? Couture and Timo?
It was Tomas Hertl, and then it was Couture. So
how do you not go with Timo?
How do you not go with Timo, who scored in this game and, as Bob admitted, best player this year? How do you not go with Balsers, who scored in this game?
You're obsessed with Balsers.
Dude, I'm telling you, man. Go with Timo. Go with Balsers. Dude, go with Gregor. I know there's been a lot of conversations about Noah Gregor, how he can't finish and all this nonsense, but think about the type of game Noah Gregor plays. He should thrive in a shootout.
Are we all just happy that the third shooter in that wasn't Nieto?
But, like, I just look at that like a slap shot on the shootout. Now, if it goes in, everybody's like, oh, my God, look how cheeky he is. Like, that's awesome, right?
Well, didn't he get away with that earlier this season?
Yeah, he scored earlier in the season. He scored the shootout winner on a slap shot. But I look at taking a slap shot in the shootout. I mean, you might have the optimist who would say, oh, a goalie's not expecting that. It's a good way to beat them. And on some level, I agree with that. But I feel like most people are going to look at a slap shot in the shootout as, why are you putting me out here? I'm going to show you that you should never do it again.
You're right. But the storyline for this Chicago game, decent back and forth, but just too many giveaways. And again, another porous game from EK. And look what happened after that. he gone.
Well, and you know what I think, kind of we were talking about earlier, this team doesn't feel like an 0-1-3 team this week. And and I look again, like we talked about before, the ability to battle back. Obviously, Timo getting a goal, like you expect that, right? But Scott Reedy tying the game, Balcers brings you within one, Jacob Megna, he ties the game. Like you have, and I hate to lump Balcers into that group of unconventional players, but you have unconventional players who kind of get you back in the swing of things, but also 37 shots on goal for the Sharks, and that doesn't even include 22 shot attempts that got blocked by the Blackhawks. So the Sharks, yes, it's a loss, but I feel like there's a lot of good things they could have taken away from this game. Like they were generating a lot of things, a lot of blocked shots, a lot of giveaways, but you can't say they weren't trying to make things happen.
Hey now, Chris in the chat saying, who should replace Bob Bugner? Whoever the new GM decides.
I personally think, I've been saying this for a long time, I think it needs to be somebody who's never coached in the NHL before, or
has
somebody
never been a head coach, or just no coaching experience in the NHL.
I mean, either one.
No, because I'm saying, like, if because we always bring it up from time to time where it's wait a minute, how can it be always if it's from time to time? Anyway, but Marco Sturm gets a lot of talk.
I love Marco Sturm.
Yeah.
And I think, something like that, never been a head coach in the NHL or even been on the bench in the NHL, but also even if it was somebody who maybe they got a head coaching job a long time ago, didn't work out, they got fired, and so they went to go, ply their trade somewhere else, whether that's college, whether that's Europe, somebody who kind of stepped away for a while to get things.
Is this not the Dallas Eakin story?
Yeah, the Dallas Eakin story, or even I know he, Mike Sullivan, he was on an NHL bench early on, got fired.
Wasn't he part of a long-running gag?
Yes. But and that's not to say the Sharks need to hire Mike Sullivan, but somebody like Mike Sullivan, like
Tiger's saying DU's coach Carlisle.
Yeah, sure. But like you look, like Mike Sullivan was the head coach of the Bruins in 03-04 and 05-06, got fired. He wasn't the head coach of another team for 10 years. And look at that, he got 2 cups. So somebody like that, maybe where they were the coach, it didn't work out, and they kind of stepped away a bit to sort of get things back on track.
Good story. And
yeah,
can you imagine all the with the everything that went down with Quenneville if the Panthers do win the cup this year?
A lot of they said on I caught a little bit of the Panthers game today. They were talking about Andrew Brunette as a potential Jack Adams candidate, and I'm wondering if anybody who became a head coach mid-season has won that award,
Oh, that's true. That's true. We got to move on. So Sharks at Dallas, it's a 2-1 loss. The Sharks were 1-1 versus Dallas this season. They picked up a 2-1 victory in December, but a 5-4 loss a couple weeks ago. Kahkonen starts, so of course, for whatever reason, the Sharks can't score. Carlson and Simek, like I said, sent back to San Jose early for further evaluation. Barabanov is out with the injury. You got 7 rookies in the lineup. Holy hell, but it all comes down to, look, Sharks lost 2-1, and how did special teams do? Well, they only had to kill 1 penalty, which they did, but they got 2 power play chances, and instead of scoring on either one, they gave up a shorthanded goal and lost by a goal.
Another night where they get killed on the faceoffs.
Oh, yeah, they got eaten up. I think at the first period it was like, 32%?
Yeah, and I think, and I've made the argument before where if you're a good team, even if you lose faceoffs, you can good teams can get the puck back, right? But if you're a bad team like the Sharks are and you struggle to hold on to the puck for long stretches of time, you need to be winning faceoffs.
You right.
Also, Rudolph Balcers got 1 minute and 58 seconds of power play time in this game.
Whoa.
Didn't do anything with it, but he was out there.
Yeah, but then he's going to sit there and go, "Well, I guess I kind of had to because who did I have left in the chamber? You know,
Yeah,
what am I
well, he
gonna
lost
Weatherby out
Barabanov.
there, Shemilevsky.
Yeah, Chmelevski got some time though.
No, I'm digging Shemilevsky. I think
Really?
I mean, as a second six guy, bottom six guy, sure.
Sure.
You know, like would he? Could he do something as the fourth line center? I mean, I would take Chmelevsky over Gregor at this point. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's my bad. I didn't mean to say the word Gregor. I meant to say the word Gambrell.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, Gambrell's no longer here.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying.
No, I got you. But I like Chmelevsky. Obviously, his numbers prior to the NHL are obviously there. Good player in the OHL, good player in the AHL, and I still am optimistic that he can become a full-time NHL player, but I kind of think, I've seen, 13 games and he's only got 4 assists, and I kind of feel like from this segment, I feel like we've seen everything he can offer. I'd like to see somebody else get in there and, again, I don't want to say Blichfeld because I don't think it's going to happen, but, even if now the Sharks have brought in, they bring in Bordeleau, so it's like, okay, it's a different option, right? But I still, I mean, maybe you bring Halbgewachs back up, right? Maybe you get Adam Raska back in there. You know what I mean?
Dude, I want to see Halbgewachs, Bordeleau, and I'm trying to think, let's put together the smallest, fastest line you've ever seen. Because what Bordelo's like 5'9", I think Halbgewachs is 5'9" with the skates on. So,
yeah, Hockey DB has him at 5'8".
Woo, yeah. See, that'd be a interesting little. But of course, that's the whole thing. You have to be real evasive, very elusive. Because boy, if you get lit up by some Zdeno Chara type, woof, you're gonna feel that for a little while. Let's finish up this Dallas game and move on.
Something that really bothered me, and we saw this the last game against Dallas as well on April 2nd. And I hope that I'm just going crazy and this is not a real thing, but I talked about it when we talked about that game a couple weeks ago, but there have been now in both Dallas games where Burns had the smart thing for Burns to do. There's somebody on Dallas coming down the ice with the puck. The smart thing to do is put a body on them, push them to the boards. I don't think you have to blow them up or anything, but get physical with them. And both times, in the game against April the 2nd and last night, it just so happened to be that Pavelski was the player coming down the ice. And, you kind of get the patented Brent Burns sort of stick check and then the spin off, where he spins off and kind of skates backwards towards the goalie. And I'm like, I can't help but think to myself, like, if that's not Pavelski, does he engage,
Yeah.
And I made the point before where it's like, I understand you're friends with people, your buddies, you like them and all that good stuff. But when you're on the ice and you're wearing the other jersey, like it doesn't matter if it's your best friend. You've seen how many brothers have we seen kind of go at it, right? It's like it doesn't matter. Like, they're on the other team. You got to do what you got to do.
Well, speaking of brothers, Sagan with the tap in of a Ben pass.
There you go.
The Sharks playing back-to-back against the Bens. How great. But you needed better positioning by Vlasic on that one. San Jose would get a power play after Merkley gets slew-footed. I thought the broadcast was going to have a coronary over him, over the guy who slew-footed Merkley only got 2 minutes.
It did seem like a bit greasy.
Yeah, but it sounded, boy, the broadcast sounded as if they wanted that guy like ejected from the game like 10 minutes or something. But the Sharks give up their 11th shorty. Burns goes full starfish, as we were talking about. After who was he coming down with? Because he was pointing at somebody to take Glendening, and then he's like, "Oh, well, no, I guess I'll do it. Lay down."
Yeah, that's what I'm like. Okay, as I'm watching this breakdown, I see him pointing at Glendening, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna play this right here. Like, okay, he's clearly saying, I got whoever was with whoever was on the other side of the ice. I believe it was Raffle.
Yes, that's who got the goal.
He's kind of saying, okay, I got Raffle, you take Glendening, and then he lays on the ice and takes neither of them. You know what I mean?
And you got to give it up to Glendening, dude. What a pass.
This game as well, specifically that goal, your friendly reminder that Michael Raffle is still in the NHL. I actually forgot. There's been a lot of that this year, unfortunately. When it comes to like scoring against the Sharks, like we talked about it, dude. Both games against Colorado this year, I forgot Darren Helm was in the was in the NHL. But I don't know. The thing that really bugged me about the whole thing, there it is.
Well, unfortunately, only we can see that. But I wish I would have formatted that. But yeah.
The thing that really bugs me is that after the game you've got Bob who's saying, oh, 9 times out of 10 he usually gets it, and I'm like,
oh dude, when I saw that quote, I'm like, Jerk is going to freak the fuck out.
Well, and dude, I don't know if you saw me, but I actually tweeted on top of that, and I said I was like, Bob must not watch the games.
Jeez. Well, what is it? We call it the starfish, and he calls it the spider.
Yeah,
evidently.
which, like, dude, like, put some respect on Zach Devine's name here.
But look, the Sharks did end up taking advantage of a tired Stars squad who had just iced, and so Meier would get one in this, his 33rd on the season. For those of you playing the will he get 40 game, we'll see how it works. Got 7 more games. But
who is this?
Oh, there was. There's been a few people. I think somebody mentioned it in the chat a couple times, and I think somebody's brought it up on Twitter as well. It's been the whole "will he get 40" thing.
I mean, I'd love it, but it does. I mean, he would need, he'd need 7 goals in 7 games. I mean, it's not impossible, but
is it probable?
It's not very likely.
Yeah, unless
he just goes on a rip.
Well, I was gonna say, can we play ML or LA on MLK Day again?
Yeah.
I mean, that was pretty good. So, look, those are the 4 games this week. Let's get to our stock up, stock down. For me, of course, Kahkonen, 2 games this week, 955 save percentage, a 148 games goals against. I mean, come on, dude.
Poor guy.
Yeah, and can't get a victory with those numbers. Dude, yeah, I mean, to quote Jumbo, dude, we'd have it out stroking it if we got numbers like that on the regular.
Right.
Whew. For me, stock up, Rudy Balcers. 2 goals, 1 assist. Buzz. I thought he was buzzing in today's game in Minnesota.
I agree. And there's, kind of what I have to say about stock up, specifically Balcers is buzzing in Minnesota. There's he had a new line mate today.
I wonder who that was.
Yeah, and that's, I was going to say, I know it's the easy one. But Thomas Bordeleau, there's a lot of hype around him. Good season with Michigan. Is he going to sign? Is he going to go back? What is he going to do? Right. So he signs the tryout with the Barracuda. He puts up 3 assists in 2 games, and I hope that's the last time he plays for the Barracuda. And signs with the Sharks. He puts up an assist tonight, and I thought he was buzzing. And is it maybe a bit cheeky for me to say stock up when there was no data that preceded tonight? Maybe. But like I said earlier, it's about making a good first impression, and he has the distinction of making a good first impression twice this week. So
stock
I would
up
say
for
him.
you on Bordeleau?
Yeah, Bordeleau, absolutely. And then
small sample size.
Small sample size, but again, more so of the good first impression variety.
Well, the only thing that I found kind of funny tonight during the game was at one point, like Balcers and Bordeleau both trying to like enter the zone. It was like, you got it. No, you got it. Like it was kind of like Balcers was trying to give it to him like, you're the center, dude. Like, you the man. Take it in. And like Bordeleau was like, I am but a young Padawan. You take it in, sir.
I don't. And the thing is, unfortunately, that's kind of it. I mean, again, we talked about the Sharks this week. I think the Sharks were just the victim of some bad bounces this week, but nobody was really buzzing for them. I mean, it was kind of a different guy every night. I mean, I don't even know. You can say,
usually the goaltender.
I mean, you can. Well, that's the thing, and you could say, you can say Timo Meier 3 points in 4 games this week, but like that's to be expected at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not, and I think that's something that I know for myself personally have to remind myself is like it's not as much who was good this week as it is who was better this week than they were the previous week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
and nobody really got better.
It's a small group.
Yeah.
Stock down the power play. You got to call it out. I mean, they gave up their 11th shorthanded goal this week, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, it's just that is something and we'll get into it, like stuff that needs to change next season. That's in the top 2. You got to fix this power play, man. Get inventive with your shit. Change the deployment. Go back and look at tape of stuff that used to work. Whatever you got to do. Remember when Jumbo would just like set up right behind the net, and it felt like the Sharks could just score at will. I don't know why they changed away from that, and all of a sudden it's let's put him at the half wall or half boards,
right.
You know. And it's like, why would you do that? But anyway, the power play is just going to stay there. The injury bug. That's, I mean, plaguing just too many guys. Simek, Barabanov, Carlson, VL. You got Leonard, Magna, gets injured. Just, oh my God.
I would say now, and again, the haters are going to come after me because he had 3 assists in 4 games this week. But Brent Burns is on my stock down list, dude. The 4 games this week, Burns had 12 giveaways.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter whether you're playing 25 minutes a night or 12 minutes a night, whatever. Like, in 4 games, you cannot give the puck away 12 times.
Yeah. That's it's a little too much. But you know what? I want to use this opportunity. Those are both my stock down. I mean, is there a player that stood out for you? You're just kind of like, this whole thing just.
Like I said, it's really just Burns, but. Again, nobody impressed me last week. Nobody really impressed me, or I'm sorry, nobody got better than they did last week. Nobody got worse than they did last week. It's just 2 weeks in a row of,
I feel you.
I think a couple interesting things, like with the module, like. Noah Gregor.
Are we still doing that?
I mean, Noah Gregor scored his 5th goal of the season tonight. All 5 of them are high value. That's fun.
Nice.
That's something to think about. Secret weapon. Nick Bonino, dude, 10 of 12 high value.
And remember, Daryl Sutter, believer in the module.
Yeah, it's got that stamp of approval. Therefore, anybody who thinks it's stupid is stupid themselves. I don't. Well, we're to the point of the season where, like,
dude, just struggling. You know what? Like, thanks for joining, everybody. We gotta go.
Yeah, we're to the point of the season where you could say like, hey, oh my God, Noah Gregor had a hat trick, and I'd be like, all right, like, well, okay, is the season over yet? Like,
well, that's the whole thing. This is what happens when elimination occurs. So, let me hit this real quick. Tweet of the week, just because it falls into it. Now, look,
doing it early.
I made a mistake.
Didn't we talk about this last week?
Yes, and so if you'll be quiet for a second, I'll let you know.
Okay.
I made a mistake. Did not format my my tweet of the week, people. So let me just try to drop this in on the fly. Hopefully, you'll be able to read what it says. Let me blow this up a little bit. But we got a tweet coming in from Tim Gray.
Production value.
It says, like the joke I heard a few years ago, EK65, like a Volvo, made in Sweden, overpriced, and in constant need of repair. And following that up, at Hold the Device says, funny story, I owned a Volvo once. It was really nice, fanciest car I've ever owned, ran amazing, great mileage. But I left it parked on the street one night. Someone crashed into it. It was never the same after that. Had to get rid of it. So I guess you know what I'm getting at. Dude, both of you guys, stellar tweets.
Beautiful. The first time in a while we've had a positive tweet of the week.
I don't know.
Or I'm sorry, not positive, but like most of our tweet of the weeks we're making fun of somebody, but this time we're like giving somebody props.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you were referring to the tweet itself, but yeah. Oh, okay. No, I feel it. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, unfortunately, we've used this space too often to carve people for not like educating themselves, and that's probably going to stop unless somebody does a really, really tremendous job. I'm looking for more content like this right here because this was funny. Man. So, look, what do we got here? Bordeleau, look, we all know what happened. It had a hell of a week. The amateur tryout, Barracuda, 3 assists. Cuda officially eliminated, by the way. But it played his first and last game at SAP Center with the Barracuda, we hope. So then we got a couple articles from the beat guys, Pashelka, Shang, and Corey, telling us let's start with, what do we got here? I believe it's Shang. He says storylines to look for over, the next few games that we have coming up. Bob Bugner, obviously he's going to get a look. He's on the final year of his deal. He's about to be.
Right.
Next year is the final year, so he's going to be working to get a job. Everybody likes a guy who plays in a contract year, right? So we'll see how that happens, see what occurs in this offseason as the Sharks go to search for a new GM. As we said, GMs typically like to put their stamp on a franchise that usually starts with a head coach. So remains to be seen. But I like what you said earlier, Jerk, that look, he's proven himself to be pretty good defensive coach, damn good with the PK guys. Maybe he's like, look, okay, yeah, the head coaching thing, not for me, but I clearly have some value. So,
right.
Rudy Balcers. He's going to be, was that RFA?
No, he's under contract for next year.
He is under contract. Well, then why is he listed on here?
He'll be an RFA after next year with the arbitration rights. So Balcer's redemption season coming next year.
Love to see it. Gonna have to make some choices on Barabanov. And right now, as Jerk has pointed out many times, Barabanov holds all the cards.
Yep.
So let's move.
Honestly, though, I look at this team. There's not really, in terms of like who's going to be a free agent, and I think with where the Sharks are, you can only really look this summer and the following summer, kind of 2 years out. Mm-hmm. There's not really anything that sort of gives me pause or makes me nervous. The Timo Meier deal extension, I'm a little nervous about because, like, if he comes in and scores 100 points next year, oh man, the Sharks he's going to be bending the Sharks over. Like,
you want that deal to get done this season, right?
Yeah, I'd like him. I would like. It would be nice if he signed his extension before next year, because then you can avoid him scoring 100 points potentially and commanding even more money. But aside from that, like, unless Balcers blows you up next year, I don't think that contract is going to be that big of a deal. Same thing. I know everybody is peeing their pants about Mario Ferraro, but like, that's not going to be that much. At most, maybe $4 million. That's pretty standard. I would hope that nobody thinks he's getting the Darnell Nurse treatment.
No doubt.
There's not really any pending contracts here that give me pause. I'll be honest with you. Like, Hurdle was kind of the big one. Now there's not really anything there.
For the 10 questions here, it's will any young players find another gear at the end of this, as the season ends? It's kind of, maybe we see a little bit more out of Ryan Merkley.
Hopefully.
Yeah, we've mentioned, like, he has his flubs here and there, but I wouldn't say he's regressing.
Mm-mm.
So I'm good with that. Maybe you see a little more of guys like Scott Reedy or Jasper Weatherby. Maybe you give Shemilevsky a little more responsibility, see how he handles it. So we'll see how that goes. What kind of impression will Bordeleau make with the Barracuda? Well, I guess it really doesn't matter.
And then what happened?
Yeah. How many career bests will Reimer set? It's going to be career high in the NHL for starts. That's my MVP of the season, dude. James Reimer. Imagine where this team is at without him. Dude, you got Sawchenko and like Emond in there because Hill's injured.
Right.
Dude, could you imagine? Then can Kahkonen solidify his space for next season?
I certainly hope so.
Dude, You look at the way Reimer performed this year. Is that an outlier? Can he, be a solid backup next year if you go with Kahkonen? And if that's the case, they're not going 3 goalies next season. So doesn't it look a little odd that you give up a second in Kozanash for a 5th in Hill, and then the next year you're like, yeah, and so we're going to get rid of Hill. What do you do, man?
I don't know.
It's
like
not
you
a
said,
great look.
I'm very, again, like I mentioned earlier, I'm very high on Kahkonen, and I think the optics of giving up Hill less than a year after you paid a 2nd-round pick for him is not good.
Yeah.
And I'm also optimistic that Hill can be the goalie that we thought he was when he was healthy, right? And I think it just, unfortunately, because as you said, he is the team MVP this year. The tea leaves make it seem like Reimer is the odd person out.
Clearly the most value.
The only thing I can think is maybe, we don't really know a lot about Adin Hill's injury. What if it's, super long-term?
Yeah, that's obviously something that you need to be concerned about. But I kind of roll it back is, for the sake of argument, hypothetically, this offseason, what if the Sharks do trade Reimer to somebody for whatever the haul, and when I say haul, I mean give me a break, maybe they trade him for a 4th, right?
No way, not that low.
3rd?
Up.
Maybe a 2nd, you say?
I think so.
Okay, so maybe they trade him for a 2nd, but there are going to be people that go, probably could have gotten a 1st if you'd done him at the deadline.
Right, but
the revisionist history, recency bias and all.
And I think even then, trading Reimer is, who's to say if there's even really a market for that? Because, the amount of teams that it would make sense for him to go to, it's finite, right? You're thinking a team. He's not going to a team that needs a goalie. He's got 1 year left, right? He's going to a team. Maybe they have a really young starter, and they need somebody behind him. Maybe the Rangers, maybe I don't know.
Rangers would be a good move.
Yeah, it's going to be something like that where he's a veteran backup behind a young starter, and there aren't a lot of those situations out there. I don't see a team like Edmonton who needs a starting goalie of the future. I don't see them being interested in a Reimer because he's got 1 year left.
True that. Ian pointing out goalies don't go for 1st even at the deadline. Well,
Also
maybe
true.
Yeah, but maybe more than just a 2nd. You know what I mean?
I was gonna say, I don't think it would, I could see it be, depending on the team, maybe it's a 2nd and an AHL goalie or something.
Mm-hmm.
Some
sort of depth piece. And I like Ian asking, when does sports betting finally put an end to this cloak and dagger injury shit?
So true.
Yeah, because boy, man, in football you have to they shove a microscope up your ass.
Oh, it's so specific.
Every Thursday when all that stuff's coming out, man, when they're laying down those bets. So
could you imagine that? James Reimer's not playing tonight. He has a blister on his 3rd toe on his right foot.
Dude. And a hangnail.
Yeah. You have to say the finger or the toe.
Yeah.
Gotta be specific.
So
he bumped his left funny bone on the locker door.
Yeah. 2 weeks minimum. Oh boy, there was some rumors swirling that we might see some shakeups at the local at NBCSN California and Bay Area, because there's already been some that have already happened. The Giants pregame and postgame already has a new host, so evidently there's been talk about higher ups looking to reduce costs. I think what we're saying is that look for Brody to work pre and post for every team in the Bay Area. I thought you were gonna say look for Brody to join the podcast next year. No, it's just Brody's gonna do pregame for the Giants, the A's, the Warriors, the Sharks. He's doing it all. He is a man of many hats. If something happens with those RSNs, though, we'll obviously get into it. But for now, I look at it. I'm like, okay, more clickbait. Move on. Ay, 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 ay. And it's the same thing with the GM thing. Like you see a bajillion articles about 27 different hypothetical GMs the Sharks were. I don't care. Just tell me who it is, and then we'll talk about it.
Right.
Look, the playoffs teams have essentially clinched. I mean, what? All the teams in the East, what they clinched playoffs back by Christmas, right?
I was gonna say, like in the East, we know the 8 that are gonna be in the playoffs. It's just a matter of who they're all gonna play.
Well, dude, and we've known this since, like I said, like since Thanksgiving.
Oh, it's very, the Eastern Conference is very, this year anyway, it's very much haves and have-nots.
Oh, so much of that. So I would, but and again, I still go back to, man, I really prefer 1 through 8. But have you paid attention to what the NBA is doing this season?
Yeah, they started doing a play-in for the 7, 8, 9, and 10th place teams, right?
Yeah. So when do you think the NHL copies it? I mean, they copy everything else, and certainly this is just an obvious money grab.
Well, I think, I don't know how much you want to get into it, but I think with how the NHL operates, it wouldn't surprise me if they choose to start doing it after maybe 2 or 3 years of like saying they're not going to do it every other week, because I feel like
so
every
it's like the ads on the jersey thing. Cool.
Right. Well, I feel like every major change is preceded by like 2 years of total like just denial of it. You know, like the one that always comes to mind is like, you know, like I think it was like less than 2 months before the Thrashers moved to Winnipeg. You know, you had people saying, "Oh well, the NHL is very optimistic about their partnership with Atlanta." And it's like, okay,
yeah,
you know,
they were really optimistic about Arizona and the Coyotes in Glendale too. How'd that roll?
But I also like, I think there are some years like, and I don't know, like this would be a hell of a thing to try and get approved, but I almost wonder if they do decide to do a play-in kind of deal, I almost wonder if it needs to be not every year, right? Like it should be.
I could see it for special circumstances like last season,
or just even if it's like okay, you look at the Eastern Conference, you know, for example, 7th place 97, 8th place 94. We're talking points. 9th place 79, 10th place 76. That's not fair to the 7th and 8th place teams, right? But then you look at the Western Conference, you have Nashville at 91, LA at 90, Vegas is at 87 and 9th, Vancouver's at 84 and 10th. I still don't think that's fair, but at least it's more justifiable, you know?
Well, see, I just look at it that first off, it's an obvious money grab.
Oh, totally.
You know, to keep,
unless you have true parity.
Yeah, but it's an obvious money grab to get more teams in there. But the thing that just makes me kind of lose my shit on this whole thing, it's like half of the league every year goes to the playoffs.
Right.
You don't need to increase this number.
Well, especially because
like I can see it in baseball. You know, in baseball, it was, you know, you got 30 teams and only 4 go to the playoffs. I mean, I could understand that. But when half the team already goes to the playoffs, get the hell out of here. And Ian bringing up, this is the NHL won't do it because a big team would get knocked out in a best of 5 instead of 7, and the old guard would lose their shit. Can we talk about Montreal?
Well, and I don't know. It would have to be certain situations, right? Like maybe it's. I don't know. The pandemic is a good example, but I don't know any other situations where it would be appropriate.
Well, or like another truncated season, like 2012.
Right.
You know, maybe if that happens, I could see it. But yeah, it's like maybe it's something you keep in your back pocket for a special occasion, but you don't go to it. But I'm worried since the NHL copies the NBA so much. I'm like, fuck, man, the NBA is going to do something with this. And the NHL is gonna see all that extra revenue and start rubbing their hands together, and here we go.
Hey, speaking of things that other sports do, I heard this earlier. I don't know where I heard this, but I heard this. I think it was today. Oh, it was today. I heard this. So, and you would know this. You're a baseball person.
Well, I'm so not going to know this, but go ahead.
So apparently the National League was. The National League and the whatever their other league, American League, I believe.
Yes.
They have each league, even though they're conferences, each league has their own set of like awards. Yes? Sort of?
I don't know that to be true, but go ahead.
The point that this person was making is because of how good like everybody is in the NHL now, what are your thoughts on like an MVP for each conference, a best defenseman for each conference, a best rookie for each conference? I don't know that I subscribe to the idea, but I thought it was interesting.
I mean, I get what you're trying to, like, whoever's suggesting
It's
that.
not me.
Yeah, whoever's trying to suggest that, it just smacks a little too much of the whole everybody gets a trophy thing. Like, we're just looking for more reasons to, hand out trophies. And no, so it's the whole thing of, like, hanging a Pacific Division banner. Is that the reason why you came here? You're the best defenseman in this particular well, who gives a shit? I want to be the best defenseman in the league. So yeah, I hear something like that and I go, ooh, please no. But getting back to the playoffs for a second, was this year kind of disappointing for you? Just like, it's great to have fans back in the building, I get to that, but we've been used to in the past having like some pretty significant playoff races where you're like checking the scores every day going, oh my God, it's so tight. And the East
We have that in the West.
Not really. A little bit. Like, it's just kind of like, let's see. I mean, it's literally what? It's LA and Vegas. That's it. There's just what, we're used to like 3 or 4 significant things, or like, holy shit, who's gonna, like, I guess if you're Minnesota and St. Louis, you're sitting there going, holy crap, who's gonna get home ice? Minnesota
that's
with
a fair point.
Yeah, Minnesota with the game in hand, but 1 point back, like that could be interesting. I don't know. I was just a little disappointed. Now, granted, am I just rubbed raw and just overall pissed off that this is the 3rd year in a row I don't get to see the Sharks in the playoffs? That could have something to do with it.
I don't think it's been disappointing. I think kind of like what I was talking before, and I think what sort of precipitated the conference specific awards was the fact that there are a lot of players who are, like I said, really good this year. And it's kind of like, I don't think that the best players should be punished for being the best in a season where things are inflated, right? But like you look at, and the one I always keep going to is like the Hart Trophy race. Like you could justifiably put maybe 6 or 7 players in that Hart Trophy race. And I feel like even the 7th best option, I feel like if you dropped them into any other season of the last 5 years, they would win. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of just, I don't know. I know that you still have to pick the best, but it just kind of feels like there's a lot of guys who would be the best if somebody else was not like even better than that. You know what I mean? Like the ceiling for what the best is has risen dramatically this year.
Sure. Denton pointing out, yes, there is an American League MVP and NL MVP.
Oh, look who knows things.
Yeah, American League Cy Young, National League Cy Young. Yeah, I probably should have known that. I think if anything, it just points out to like, I like baseball, but I don't care enough about this.
Well, it's and we've talked about it on this podcast before. Baseball is stupid, so.
Hey, calm down. So, going on with like these things where like the play-in round or going back to 1 through 8 or this being a disappointed season, somebody on The Athletic had the whole, are you team loser point or team bonus point? Do you need some context?
No, and I've been saying this for years. The NHL needs to go to the scoring system that the Olympics does. And for those who don't know what that is,
what?
I'm assuming you're talking about points for an overtime loss, yes?
Yeah, well, just the whole, do you call it a bonus point or do you call it, a loser point or a charity point?
Oh, see, I don't even like that conversation. I'm in the conversation of like, let's bring the Olympic point system to the NHL.
Yeah.
Where you have 3 points for a regulation win, 2 points for an overtime win, 1 point for an overtime or shootout loss, and then 0 points for regulation win. Like kind of, I think
0 points for a regulation win?
Loss.
Oh, okay, you said win.
Oh,
That's what I was like, what?
Point being is like if you make it to overtime or the shootout, like you are still in the game past the time the game was supposed to end. So I'm okay with a point for an overtime or shootout loss. But at the same time, I think there should be an incentive. And we see this now. The tiebreaker was regulation overtime wins. Now it's regulation wins. I think there needs to be an incentive for winning in regulation as opposed to overtime.
Yeah. Well, my whole thing is, look,
but I still think it's okay to get a point for losing in overtime.
Okay, I'm just a proponent of just make all the games worth the same amount of points.
3 points for a loss, 3 points for a win.
No, but you get what I'm saying.
I don't know if I do.
Well, no, that if you win in regulation, that game happened to be worth 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
If you lose in overtime, that game happened to be worth 3 points. 2 of them went to the other team. You got 1 of them.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah,
I see what you mean.
That this game 3 points were handed out, but in this other game only 2 were. Like, make it one or the other, or just go ahead and do your 3-on-3 gimmicky overtime, and then do your real gimmicky shootout thing. Winner gets 2 points, loser gets nothing, or make it what you had said earlier: 3 points for a regulation win. Loser gets nothing, and if you go to overtime, however it ends, the team that wins it, they get the 2, the other team gets 1. Anyway.
Yeah, that's how they do it in the Olympics.
As it should be. The other thing that I guess kind of went around this week, did you hear about Florida and Montreal rolling 5 forwards on the power play?
No, but I like it.
I mean, is this the start of something that we see, or is this just 2 teams coping with injuries? Because it's so weird that it's literally the best team and the worst team in the East are doing this.
I think it's something that we've seen before, but it's definitely a fringe sort of strategy. You very rarely see it.
Let me ask you this. Have you donated any money to Hartman this week?
No, because number 1, I don't donate money to millionaires, and number 2, if I want to donate money to charity, which I have, I would donate it to the charity directly. That's not to say that Ryan Hartman is not going to give his money to the Children's Hospital like he says he is. But if I want to donate to charity, I'm going to donate it myself. I'm not going to go through somebody.
Yeah, but you had to appreciate the story. I don't want to get into the whole thing because that's a...
Oh, I thought it was a hilarious story. I think, whatever you believe with anything in life, I think the fact that everybody was sort of united over Evander Kane getting flipped off, I think is really beautiful.
Oh, man. The hills we die on. Coming up this week, again, we got 7 left. When we talk with you again next time, we're going to be catching you up on 4 Sharks games.
I won't be there.
Okay.
Who's this we?
Who? So you will be getting caught up. You, viewer, listener, will be getting caught up on 4 Sharks games against Columbus, St. Louis, Chicago, and Vegas. Remember, Chicago is fan appreciation game. Remember, Vegas is the jerk game. So if you're looking for the jerk bump, it'll be in Vegas.
And we are holding auditions to sit in my chair next week.
Oh, so look for a guest sub. That'll be here for Jerk, subbing in for him for our penultimate show. It will be another After Dark takeover, and which, let's be honest,
very blessed to not be there.
Yeah, because it's a 7:30 game, right?
7, I believe.
Oh yeah. So anyway, yeah, Ian going. I think he's gonna come in and just hashtag all me bitches. We're gonna see. We're going to see if we can figure out how to change this little tag right here that says Hockey Jerk to Bumble F Hockey. If you've been paying attention to the other shows. But anyway. How the Dark Horses doing before we get out of here?
Poorly.
Dude, Vancouver, 5-game winning streak. It's like they just waited too long. It makes you wonder if the Canucks would be better positioned if they had just gone to Boudreau a few weeks earlier, I don't know.
I think there's a lot of things with them where, and I kind of said it all about you're talking about the personnel they have on the team. I feel like there's a couple different things they could have changed that would have drastically changed their season. As you said, firing the coach. But I think there's some players that they've shifted into different positions that have yielded positive results. And it just makes you wonder if they had done that sooner.
Oh, dude. I mean, Elias Peterson looked fucking miserable in the first quarter of the season, and now
and then they moved him to play wing.
Yeah, and now he's like, "Hey, look at me, bitches." Yeah.
I mean, I think ultimately, he'll find his way back to center, but you got to make changes when the situation dictates.
You're right. Now, my LA Kings.
Dude, taking a beating from everybody.
Dude, I can't. They've won their last game. They beat Columbus.
Dude, every podcast, every radio show, every TV show,
Dude, you're piling on, bro.
Everybody, we're talking about things that unite people. Everybody is in agreement
that LA needs to win.
That LA can't stop the bleeding and that Vegas is just going to leap over them.
Oh.
Everybody is saying that.
Well, look, I think I mentioned this last week, but LA has 5 games left. 3 of those games are against Anaheim and Seattle.
They gotta.
Dude, if you can't pull that. The other game versus Chicago, you gotta take that one at home, by the way, at LA. And then they finish it off at Vancouver. And you would hope by that point that they would just be on a 5-game winning streak, that Vancouver game, no, don't, keep it. Don't need it.
Right.
Whereas Vegas, they're going to play New Jersey tomorrow. You would think that would be a walk for them. And they're probably going to be pretty feisty because Edmonton just curb stomped them Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
Shut them out. So, I don't know. Are you going to see the Vegas team that decimated Calgary early last week or that got curb stomped by Edmonton? We'll see, but then they have to face Washington. Sharks get an opportunity to play spoiler. Then you got to go at Dallas. That's not going to be an easy game. But then they have to go at Chicago. Okay, that might be a walk, but okay, we can have them on the second of back-to-backs. Yeah, Chicago sounds good, but then they got to finish off at St. Louis. And if St. Louis is still fighting with Minnesota for home ice, look out. I don't know. Just LA, just stop making this a thing. Just do it already. Sweep the fucking leg.
Well, and you've been talking about it the last 2 weeks or so, but
because I'm obsessed.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is as I said, a lot of people are anticipating because of LA has stubbed their toe so much that they're not going to recover and Vegas is going to leap over them. In spite of all that, nobody is talking about, as you have been the last 2 weeks, the strength of schedule between the two teams.
Yeah, it's huge.
Huge.
I mean, dude, LA has 5 games. None of these games are against anybody that's in a playoff position. Right? But Vegas, Washington's currently in a playoff spot, right?
Yep, they're 7th.
Okay, and then you have Dallas and you have St. Louis. So
that Dallas game is critical.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. But they got 6 games. Half of them are against against teams that are playoff bound.
It's going to be an interesting way that it all shakes out because I think Vegas's schedule is harder, but I think you can also make the argument that Vegas is the better team. So
sure,
we'll see. And
the next 3 games that Vegas plays, they're all at home, and then the next 3 for them are on the road. Whereas LA, let's be honest, an away game at Anaheim, not exactly something that's going to take it out of you.
Yeah, not exactly an away game.
Yeah. And then you get host Chicago, host Anaheim, and then you talk about travel. LA, after having 3 days off at Seattle, the next day at Vancouver, which distance-wise, not unlike LA to Anaheim.
I was going to say, if you catch a good wind, that's like a 2.5 hour flight. That's nothing.
Yeah. Whereas, the Vegas at Dallas, then they got to go up to Chicago, then back down to St. Louis. Little more flight going on there, but that's the only thing I can hang my hat on. With the Sharks eliminated, I got to look for something to root for. And I think the hockey would just be a better place all around if Vegas misses this year.
So at the beginning of the year, we picked these teams as hey, this is our dark horse to make the playoffs. And for probably 2/3 of the season, it's looked like, wow, AJ was really smart, and wow, Jerk was not really smart. Imagine after it's all said and done, they both miss the playoffs.
Well, then
And
it just
somehow,
comes down
like,
to record.
no, but like imagine, but that's what I'm saying. Imagine after it's all said and done, like what if LA stubs their toe so much that like
Shut your whore mouth.
Vancouver, even though Vancouver and LA both miss the playoffs, what if LA stubs their toe so much that Vancouver leapfrogs them? That would be like the kick to the groin of the century.
Dude, that would be like Jerk forcing points from another level, dude. That'd be 5D chess. Holy crap. All right. So you can follow him at hockey_jerk. You can follow me at AJ_strong. Remember to leave your take in the comment section below of this YouTube video if that's the platform you're watching us on, especially if you weren't able to watch us live, right? So, famous last words for you, Jerk, sir.
Famous last words. The regular
we're done, right?
Yeah, the regular season is almost over, and I think that's something we should all be happy about.
Dude, people come. Dude, we usually start at 7. It's quarter after now. People coming in going, what is this famous last word shit? I just got here.
Yeah, they're like, oh, this is the shortest show ever. No, I think, and again, maybe this sounds really cynical, right? But like, the season is almost over, and that's a good thing, because it's just not. It's another lost season, unfortunately. It's three seasons in a row now where the Sharks are going to miss the playoffs, and that was pretty clear months ago. But now that it's official, it's kind of like you can officially start to move on, and it is unfortunate, like I know we talk about, oh, the Sharks need to trade this player, they should have never signed this player, blah blah blah. But like, I don't know, it's kind of a tough thing to remind yourself, like, Burns and Carlson and Couture and Hurdle and all these guys, Timo Meier, like when they signed their deals, it was like, yeah, like we're just going to keep buzzing, making money, winning games. It's going to be awesome. And it's like, I can't imagine what it must feel like to just, everybody talks about like, man, the Sharks are stuck with these guys. But like, I wonder if any of these players who are on big deals are like, man, I'm stuck on this shitty team.
I don't know, dude.
It makes you think.
Dude, if you heard Couture in the media call, I think it was yesterday, and after it had come down that they were officially eliminated, he was just like, I'm not getting any younger. This sucks.
Right.
Right. I'm kind of, ooh. Oh, and by the way, we were mentioning the Capitals earlier as being on Vegas' schedule. Evidently, the Capitals just locked in their playoff berth. So
yeah, so the East is dialed. It's set.
Yeah.
So now for the East, it's just a matter of who is in what position kind of thing. But even that looks
pretty set.
You might have Pittsburgh and Washington flip-flop. You might have Tampa Bay and Boston flip-flop. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty clear.
Yeah. And we'll, as we usually do, as part of wrapping up the entire season in a couple weeks, we will be offering our lowly picks.
Well, so here's the thing.
Which is where Jerk excels, though.
I try my best. Yeah. But here's the thing.
Picking dark horses, not so much during the regular season, but Stanley
I'm
Cup,
I'm very good at picking the obvious choice.
Yeah. Tampa Bay, bitch.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing to think about, though. So obviously, this week we've got Columbus, St. Louis, Chicago, Vegas to talk about, or I should say next week. But 2 weeks from now, we have Anaheim, Edmonton, and Seattle to talk about in 2 weeks. But here's the thing.
It's going to be more about the season.
Our show 2 weeks from tonight is on May 1st, and the playoffs start May 2nd. So we're going to have to bang out our predictions right then and there.
I'm good with that.
So probably, and I don't want to speak for you, but May 1st is probably going to be like talk about the games and then right into the playoff prediction, because we talked about doing a separate show that's entirely a post-mortem on the Sharks.
Well, we can chop it up.
Yeah, we'll see.
We chop up both shows. What time does that last? Oh no, we can. Oh, so there is no game in 2 Sundays.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. So no, I feel
we should start at 5 again, but then go to the normal end time.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, a 4-hour show, fucking podcast.
Get out of here. Were those your famous last words?
Yeah. That I don't have anything else to say.
All right. Yeah. Same for me. It's again, Ian's going to be off next week. I don't know what I'm going to do.
No, Ian's going to be on next week. Jerk is not going to be there next week.
There you go. See, I'm already confused.
You know what, though? People seem to think we're the same person, so it's fine.
And you know why? That comment from Bob, that's what threw me off. It's going to
Shout
be
out to Bob.
Yeah, it's going to be another After Dark takeover. So for those of you who set your clock for 7 p.m., we're happy about that, but it's going to be a little later. A little later than that. We will get on as soon as Vegas and San Jose are finished. Okay, then. So with that, as always, remember to subscribe to us on the social media platform that you prefer. Same with whatever podcast app you catch us on. We would appreciate that. And again, leave a comment in this video. Ian loves chopping it up with people here on the YouTube. And yes, I meant Ian on that, not Jerk. He likes to chop it up.
No, I think it is. So we've been doing a lot of the commenting lately, and it's been good, like good conversation.
Yes, Ian will tell. He assures you, separate people. So with that, we thank you so much for watching and taking part of show 160 here of the Pucknologists and After Dark Takeover again, and it's going to happen again next week. Good luck to all of you. Hope you guys all had a very happy Easter, and we will see you all for 161 next week. Good night, everybody. Where is the button to end the show?